thinking. I think that's
He's placed his bets on top 13. He's been offered a spare cart. He's picked 13. Yes, and just to go back to that, at the hotel where a number of the competitors are staying last night, I believe the fire alarm was going off at about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sure there were some people who were still going to bed and some people who were figuring on getting up, and either way it's caused a few headaches. But in this race, just to...
Who have we got? We've actually got Ramon Piniero in the 15.
Ramon Pinero's up at the front there, but if we run through the entry list, we've got Jake Crofts, we've got Ryan Smith, who we were talking to earlier on in the breakfast show, we've got David Longman, Mathias Grooten, who we've said has just switched carts, Ramon Piniero, Brett Gaskin, Richard Jute, Ben Churchill, Pete Lepan and Tyler
This
Mays.
is a really tough heat. This has gone under my radar actually a little bit. I didn't realise there were quite so many front runners in this race. So certainly I think Ryan Smith and and Ramon Piniero in the two carts which were first and second in the previous race, 15 and the 19, they're going to be a massive threat. Grooten's obviously going to do something with this number 13. Let's see what he manages to do with a completely stone cold cart. Richard Jute is a previous race winner. Pete Lepan and Tyler Mays are both also extremely fast. So let's have a look. Let's see how the qualifying times come in.
Absolutely. Richard Jute, of course, came from nowhere and won his first BRKC race yesterday, the first one he'd ever been in. Interestingly, we've got Ramon Piniero leading the qualifiers out, and we've got Tyler Mays, who's the last one to go out. So that pole position could well be set at the start or at the very finish, with quite a few in between to take it to.
I think it might even be Mathias Grooten who's going to be the last person across the line in number 13.
Absolutely
down there.
right, because of course he's come out in the spare cart, hasn't he? Tyler Mays is on. No, that's
so
the
on the provisional. Sorry, and it was Grooten who on the provisional first lap seemed to go fastest. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're just all shaking out. It's actually 7th. 37.3 was his first lap.
Okay, we've got Ramon Piniero who's just set a time. He's been beaten
Ryan
by
Smith
Ryan Smith. And Ryan Smith currently on the provisional pole. He'll be very pleased with that because Ramon Pinero's established fast driver. Here comes Grooten, is it? No, that's somebody else I'm looking at.
Pete Lepan up
it's
to
still
third.
Ryan Smith on the pole.
Richard Jute 6th. So it's just going to be down to... Oh, Mays goes second with a 35.1.
Tyler Mays. And where is Mathias
Grooten crosses the line, and Grooten goes fourth in that freezing cold cart. So it looks like potentially that gamble paying off because this is a tough heat, and he's managed to stick it straight in fourth.
Well, it's going to have to pay off well because he is starting fourth. Now, the interesting thing really, though, Ryan Smith. Now, Ryan Smith is a little bit like a Scottish version of Johnny Elliott, to be fair. He manages, he's a very fast driver. We know he could potentially win in any given race. However, like Johnny Elliott, he manages to find the bad luck somewhere, doesn't he?
I agree. It's a very good comparison there. Ryan's very, very fast, and sometimes things just don't go well for him. But then occasionally the wins do come, just like with Johnny yesterday. So Ryan's got a great potential to win this one. Now the top 4 are separated by fractions, and I've got a feeling there's going to be a very hungry Mathias Grooten with ever-warming tyres in that potentially in that cold cart that he started in, that is going to get faster and faster as the race goes on. So he is the driver in this race.
And there's Grooten on screen looking and talking with Ramon Piniero, and Ramon Piniero has just pointed straight in front of him. So obviously there may be some little strategy going on. This is what the people are watching online, and there's Grooten in the 13. They're going towards the start now. Ryan Smith's going to be pretty desperate to win this one, like Johnny Elliott when we saw him win from the pole yesterday.
This is going to be a great race.
May well convert this. Yeah, this is going to be well exciting. Tyler Mays needs to get something out of this. Ramon Piniero does too, and so does Mathias Grooten. And Grooten and Piniero could be working as a bit of an unofficial team in this. Grooten, of course, a member of the epic Blue Star Racing team from the Netherlands. They are... he knows exactly about...
I think they might be from Belgium, just to clarify.
Ah, right. They were telling me that Blue Star was actually Dutch, but Grooten is Belgian.
Well, I tell a lie. Well,
maybe someone from Blue Star can tell us who actually... Yeah,
Greg Laporte and Mathias Grooten are Belgian. So right now it's nose to tail, and Ramon Piniero.
Piniero. Well, he may have been planning something with Grooten, but he's going on his own now, Piniero. Piniero up to second place. It's Ryan Smith who's going to lead that opening lap. Completes the opening lap in the lead, but now he's got Piniero. Pinero's been racing all weekend.
So we see on the replay, was it fair? Was it fair? He was fully alongside before the apex. Hopefully the officials will be happy with that one today. I know that he had a bit of a discussion with Ollie up at race control yesterday, so that one looked fair to me.
That's going to be...
Grooten's passed Tyler Mays into the hairpin, so Grooten up to third.
Absolutely. So both Ramon Piniero and Mathias Grooten, two of the pre-race favourites, they're on the move as well. There's the move by Grooten. And the interesting thing in this, Brad, is that's about as fair a pass as you're ever going to get from Ramon Piniero, isn't it?
And I just want to say to all the people that have been talking to me in the run-up to this event saying, but you cannot overtake indoors, just watch this race and watch pretty much any BRKC race and you'll see it happening.
That's David Longman into the pits there, Brad. Now, Longman's a bit of a dark horse. He's capable of being in the top 5, maybe even the top 3, but that wasn't the greatest pit stop.
I don't know quite how he fancies his chances in this particular race. This is a tough one. If you're not at the front from the start, I think he's going to struggle. But let's see. Let's watch his pace as the race goes on, because he's now out of sequence. Ramon Piniero right on the back of Ryan Smith now, with Grooten closing into both of them.
Absolutely. I think Ryan Smith knows it as well, because on the back stretch there, he was immediately, like Craig Miscallus before, immediately taking a central line, trying to cover left or right anything that Ramon Piniero might throw at him. Another pit stopper, it's Mathias Grooten.
It's Richard Jute in the pits.
Sorry, yes, Richard Jute. A similar sort of helmet from up here. But yes, Richard Jute. Now, Richard Jute pitted out of 8th place. He's dropped to 9th by the looks of it, possibly 10th. But really, after a win in the earlier heats, we've not seen anything from Richard Jute since.
So Piniero for the lead and a clean pass straight through. Ryan Smith went defensive and then immediately backed out of it and went to a normal line, and Ramon just stuck with it. It looked pretty good to me, that one. Just looking at the replay, might have to see that again from the start, but it looked decisive to me.
Basically, he just sent it down the inside. That's a good pass, there's no problem with that. Now, Ramon Piniero, with the greatest respect to Ryan Smith, he's probably going to be more worried about Mathias Grooten.
And Grooten passed Smith as well, and also clean, straight down the inside, and a little bit of contact on the exit, and this is just let Ramon Piniero go. This is exactly what Piniero wants.
Smith is still in second. Smith is still in second.
So that was because of the kind of switchback of the right-hander followed by the left-hander. Grooten got past. Ryan Smith just hung on round the outside, then had the inside for the following corner. That's let all the cars behind them catch right up, and it's just let Ramon Piniero streak away into the distance.
And what about pressure? What about pressure on Ryan Smith? Behind him is Mathias Grooten, Tyler Mays, Pete Lepan and Ben Churchill, and they all seriously mean business. This is great news for Ramon Piniero, though. He's checking out into the lead. This is exactly what he needs, because as soon as anyone gets past Ryan Smith, Ramon's going to be under pressure, isn't he?
This is what I love about this particular layout of the circuit as well. Because of the amount of switchbacks in that first half of the track, you have to compromise a corner in order to get a good exit onto the next straight or out of that corner, and that means that offers an opportunity for people to dive up the inside. You can't defend and be fast at the same time, so overtaking is more than possible around here, as we've seen in pretty much every race on this layout.
And very interesting here. Will Mathias Grooten make a lunge for the inside? He could do with passing Ryan Smith as soon as possible. Ryan Smith is not making inroads on Ramon Piniero, and I'm sure Mathias Grooten will be seeing Ramon Piniero pulling away. He won't be pleased with this. But the interesting fact in this, guess who's fastest in this race so far? Double world champion Mathias Grooten in 3rd place.
So Grooten will be extremely keen to get past Ryan Smith, who he's going to be seeing as a bit of a cork in his bottle right here. He needs to get past him and get on with the work of catching up with Ramon Piniero. And let's just remind everyone, Grooten jumped in a cold cart at the start here, so he's showing his class of having the mental strength to appreciate that the tyres weren't warm, the other carts have been out for 20 minutes already, and trust in his ability to get them up to temperature and get on with the job.
Absolutely, Brad. The key element in all of that has been there's been no loss of time by Mathias Grooten. In fact, if anything, he probably would have liked Ramon to have spent a bit more time behind Ryan Smith. I don't think he'd be looking across and seeing with any great relish Piniero pulling away there.
Piniero sets the fastest lap of the race, so he's getting on with it as well, though it's very, very similar lap time to Grooten's.
Absolutely. Once he was clear of Ryan Smith, the pressure was on Ramon Piniero to just pull away, pull away, pull away. He does not need any pressure from anyone behind. Do you know what? If this was any other race, I'd say Piniero may have done enough to secure it, but, well, Grooten's there, Tyler Mays is there, Pete Lepan's there. You can't call it this early. And
now Grooten's kind of used up one of his attempted overtaking credits, if you will. He can't afford too many more failed pass attempts before Ramon Piniero essentially has a full pit stop in hand. Grooten's going to have to pass Ryan Smith decisively, make it stick this time, and he'll be ruining the fact that that last one didn't quite pay off and that he's lost a couple of seconds. So when we see a move, expect it to be a full pass and not to give Ryan Smith a chance back past.
Absolutely, it looked like he had a little bit of a go into the hairpin before thinking the better of it just then. But down the back stretch, Grooten's just not really able to make a move on Ryan Smith. I mean, we are talking about Ryan Smith as if he's holding up the pack. Yes, it appears he might be, but
he's actually just set the fastest lap of the race,
yeah,
Ryan
absolutely.
Smith.
Yeah, he's not going slowly. It was probably more a case of Piniero pulling away and everyone else around him being very quick than any lack of pace from Ryan Smith.
And
Piniero's now the new fastest.
We talk about kart parity here. If you ever look at the top 5, 34.8, 34.8, 34.8, 34.8, 34.8, they're all absolutely bang on the same pace. And any one of these guys could win with a mistake from the other drivers. At the moment, though, it's Piniero in the pound suit. And Grooten passes Ryan Smith for the lead. It's a bit of side-to-side contact. That looked like it was because Ryan Smith tried to turn back towards the apex. I'd like to see a slow-mo replay just to see, but from my eyes, Grooten was fully alongside by the time they got to the apex, and they seem to kind of bounce off each other at the apex. I'm going to reserve judgment until I've seen the replay. Race control, I'm sure, will be looking at it as well, but if this wasn't a clean pass, that's effectively going to be the end of Grooten's challenge for the lead here, I think.
Absolutely, he had to do something desperate. The interesting now, great driving by Ryan Smith, because damage limitation, he got forced really wide in the hairpin there and had to shoot back in front of Tyler Mays. He made it work, so he only lost one place, but Ryan Smith could have easily gone to the back of the pack there, but managed to hold on behind double world champion Mathias Grooten.
And it's often difficult to tell exactly, was there a hard amount of contact because the driver slid into the side of the other driver, or was it because the driver who was defending kind of belligerently tried to defend too late and bounced off? We need to kind of see slow-mos to know exactly what happened, unless we get an extremely clear view of it the first time. So I'm not 100% sure there, but I don't see a bad pass flag from race control. So.
Well, two interesting points, Brad, just before we come back to what you just said. First interesting point, Mathias Grooten, new fastest race lap. He's pulling
by 3/10.
By 3/10, he's pulling clear of Ryan Smith. He's now starting his charge up towards Ramon Piniero. Yes, it's interesting what you said. I think basically what it came down to was Mathias Grooten was really insistent that that pass was going to happen and going to stick. Ryan Smith was pretty insistent that it wasn't, and I think there was the gentlest scrape, but you've got two absolute top-line drivers there battling for position. Smith wasn't going to make it easy. Grooten was going to make it tough, so it happens that Grooten's come out ahead of this. But look at him, he's halfway towards
hunting down Ramon Piniero.
This is him down, he's reeling him in, he's got the lasso out, he's going to get hold of his neck and drag him back to him, because Grooten is on a mission here. Look at this, as they cross the line, it's Piniero with the lead. Grooten fastest, again a new fastest lap by Mathias Grooten. He's the quickest on the track there, and he's racing down the race leader.
This is where world-class experience and trusting in your abilities and working out the abilities of other drivers and really analysing the situation pays off. He analysed the previous race, he gambled in inverted commas on a spare kart, but trusted his ability to get it working once it was up to temperature, and it's totally paid off. The kart number 13 that he's driving now is performing flawlessly. It's a capable race winner, and right now he's looking like he could potentially win this race.
Absolutely, he's closer to Piniero than he is to Ryan Smith, who's behind him, so he's halfway to more than halfway to Piniero, having made that pass in only a couple of laps. He is setting faster and faster laps, and the interesting thing with Mathias Grooten, he's been at the top of the game for so long. He's one of the literal handful of drivers by which all others are judged, and we're seeing why now. Now, if we saw on the screen there, Ramon Piniero, the race leader, been hunted down by Mathias Grooten. They're catching up some backmarkers. That must be Gaskin and Crofts, because I don't think we've had anyone in the pits yet.
Piniero's also getting slightly fast. He's under 34.6 now, but it's Grooten pumping in the 34.4s and 5s at the moment. 10th by 10th, clawing him in. Ramon is waving his arm. He wants blue flags for the karts in front of him. I don't know if any came out that time, but he's on the tail of Brett Gaskin, and he's going to start to be held up very, very soon. Let's see, is there a blue flag on the back straight? There is.
Yes, there is.
So Gaskin's going to allow him through, is he? Yes, so nice and easy for Piniero there. Grooten's also got to get past. Makes it through cleanly. So it's the next driver in front. Who's that? Is that Jake Crofts?
It's Jake Crofts. I was going to say, it's not as simple as all that for Ramon Piniero, because there was another kart in front of him, and the blue flag was only for the kart he was passing, not the one ahead.
There's another blue flag
Absolutely,
now, so
blue
passed
flag
easily.
Now,
Grooten is on his tail, and Grooten's going for a pass. He actually had a look up the inside there, trying to take advantage of the back marker.
Absolutely, he was going to overtake somebody, and it happened to be the back marker, but he would have done Piniero if he could have, wouldn't he?
He absolutely would, and this is going to be a titanic battle to the end now. I really hope Ramon can keep Mathias behind him for long enough for us to have a good fight to watch here.
Absolutely. Grooten's on the tail of Piniero, and his previous lap, fastest of the race so far.
And so both of those guys obviously on near identical. Oh, we've got Pete Lepan in the pits, good first stop.
Yeah, Lepan is pitting out of 5th place. He's dropped to 6th now. Will that be any worse than that? No, he's resuming in 6th. That's not bad when you make a pit stop and only lose one place. Now, what's happening up at the front? We're having a look now on the backstretch. Here comes Ramon Piniero. There's Mathias Grooten. Piniero knows Grooten's there. He looked over his shoulder, and he knows from here on in it's only bad news, and it'll probably only get worse. Grooten will never be any further back than he is now.
So what's going to happen in terms of pit stops? Who's going to blink first? We all know that the second person in the group to pit, if you're nose to tail, generally has the advantage if you both do equal pit stops, because you retain track position on the exit on the inside of the first corner. So Grooten will know that. Ramon knows that. Being at the front allows Ramon the luxury of waiting until the last chance to pitboard, and therefore force Grooten to do an earlier stop, although Ramon's going defensive into the hairpin. So it's a tricky one. Obviously you have the risk of pitting right at the end. If you muck up your pit stop, then then you don't have another chance to pit, and you'll actually go from first place to taking points for last. But I don't think Ramon will be too concerned about that. He'll make sure it's a good pit stop when he does it.
Absolutely, Brad. You're right there. Now, the interesting thing is that Ramon Piniero, he knows it's Mathias Grooten behind him. Now, Grooten, although he's in second place, Ramon has the advantage. Ben Churchill in the pits. Ramon has the advantage of being in the lead right now. Grooten can see more about what's going on. Was he tapping his wrist thereabouts?
Yeah, I don't know quite what that's about. Ramon obviously can't see him, but he's tapping his wrist. Maybe he's concerned about people further back on the track, but I really don't think there's any threat. I mean, actually, having said that, if they start having a battle, Ryan Smith and Tyler Mays could potentially close in on them. Maybe that's what he's worried about. Maybe he's telling Ramon to just go, go, go. But I have to say, I don't know any front-running driver who tends to listen to that kind of thing. I try the same tactics myself. Grooten passes,
for the lead,
and he's through. And I think that is probably game over for Ramon Piniero with the pace advantage Grooten has. But let's see, can Ramon come back at him now? He doesn't have to defend.
Well, it's not often that anyone gets one back over Mathias Grooten once he's taken them. Ramon Piniero could be one of the few in history to do that. If he does, to be fair, he's not being dropped. He's still right there with the double world champ.
It's early days. I think Grooten's going to start setting fastest lap after fastest lap now, but I'm absolutely happy to be proven wrong, because certainly for my own championship, I need Mathias Grooten to not get another victory and take maximum points.
Absolutely. Ramon Piniero, one of your best friends right now, yeah?
Yeah, well, it would have been a better friend if he'd held up Grooten for a bit longer, but I think he's being dropped now, unfortunately.
Well, it's still only a kart length. You know, I know we're talking about Mathias Grooten here, but Ramon Piniero absolutely working wonders to stay with the Belgian there. He's making it look very good, although I think you're right.
And fastest lap of the race there from Grooten, 34.444.
I think knowing Mathias Grooten, we're going to see a string of fastest laps now to try and seal the deal. Of course, they both got to make a pit stop, but we can't really see Mathias Grooten blowing that one.
Yes, I mean, and that is the potential pitfall here. I did see Mathias screw up a lot of practice pit stops. Obviously, that doesn't mean he's going to get them wrong in the race itself, but he was taking a lot of risks in the practice. And if Ramon stays close enough that a good pit stop from him makes the difference, it's not definitely over yet.
2 car lengths in it now. Ramon Piniero is beginning to sort of fall away from the leader. Another fastest lap. I think we are literally going to see a string of fastest laps and fastest laps from Mathias Grooten. I don't think he's exactly got this one in the bag, but I can't see him losing it. I don't know quite how to put it, Brad. What's interesting, though, is we come onto the back stretch. Look in the background. Ryan Smith, Tyler Mays, they're not being left for dead. They're not right where they were before.
It looks like Piniero's just about got enough pace there, though, that he's going to keep them at arm's length. He seems to be about half a tenth quicker on a normal lap, but they're pretty close. They're close enough to strike if something goes wrong.
Into the pits, it's Tyler Mays. Tyler Mays makes a stop. The first stop is good. He's getting to the second bit. Oh, it's very, very close. He's on the red light. Yes, he's good. So Tyler Mays comes out having pitted from 4th place. Cycles him back down. We'll find out in a second where he's at.
Is Ryan Smith going to react now then on the next lap? It's going to be a tricky one, because it looks like Mays has got 2 backmarkers to pass. Brett Gaskin and Jake Crofts are in quite close proximity to each other as well in their own little private battle. So the smart thing would normally be for Ryan Smith to immediately pit, and he has, so he's going to come straight in to try and cover off with his track position. Let's see.
Oh, he cut that first one fine, didn't he? I think he's all right. He got a green light, but he was well underway before it came on.
Clear, isn't he? Well clear. And he's actually jumped both of the back markers as well. So Tyler Mays pitted maybe that little bit early, wasn't quite far enough ahead of Jake Crofts and Brett Gaskin there, and now he's being held up So I think that's actually let Ryan Smith off the hook. That's broken that battle up a little bit.
That's very interesting, Brad, because, you know, we're talking about when to make a pit stop, the strategy of when to do it, trying to leapfrog backmarkers, things like that. Tyler Mays, there was only a lap between them of coming in, and yet Ryan Smith has managed to come out 2 carts, or 1 cart now, ahead of Mays.
And that's 1 second difference, because those guys are running about a second a lap quicker than Crofts and Gaskin. That 1 extra lap bought him the second he needed to jump them.
Absolutely, great driving there by Ryan Smith. I have to say, I was wondering if it might have been worth staying out a bit longer. I saw him on the backstretch look over his shoulder when Tyler Mays was in the pits. He would have seen that he was on his own, and that might have allowed him some freedom to do what he wants to get Piniero without worrying about Mays. But it seems like Ryan Smith did exactly the right thing. Here comes Ramon Piniero. He's in the pits. Ramon Piniero pits out of second. Now, where will Ryan Smith come out? Where will he come out reference Ryan Smith? Because Piniero could well find himself under pressure.
I think Ramon there did the sensible thing. He did 2 pretty safe stops. He knows he doesn't really have the legs to catch up with Grooten now, and he knows he's got a decent gap to Ryan Smith. So consolidating a good second place for Ramon is the name of the game from here on.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not saying this to talk him down, but we have seen some hot-headedness from Ramon Piniero before, but that was some of the coolest driving we've seen, not just from him, but from quite a few people. But Mathias Grooten into the pits. The race leader is pitting now. His first stop is good. His second stop, he's not taking.
He's very safe
either.
as well, and he's got the gap. It makes no difference to him if he waits an extra half a second just to be sure. That's exactly what he's done. We've seen a few drivers when they know they've got the win in the bag in terms of distance to the cart in second place, just waiting for the green light, not risking a thing.
Absolutely. We've been seeing this yesterday as well. All the top drivers, when they've been pitting out of the lead or second or whatever, they've been trying desperately to make a gap. And by making a gap, creating space, it gives them options. It allows them to be a little bit more conservative in the pits without taking risks. We saw it from Grooten, we saw it from Ramon Piniero, and as I say, Ramon Piniero has seen some hot-headedness from him before, but that was about the coolest stop we'd seen from anybody.
Now Ramon seems to have unlocked a bit of pace in that car. He's done that particular lap wasn't so good, but the previous lap he did a 34.3, so he was almost matching Mathias on the last lap. So slightly slower on that one there with the 34.7, but it's definitely the pace in that car. I think Mathias has just found it that little bit sooner, and it's a bit too late now for Ramon.
Absolutely. So here's Mathias Grooten on the backstretch. He's turning in. Now there's Ramon Piniero and Ryan Smith. Now the interesting thing of this is that second place is further away from the leader. It means Ryan Smith may well be closing in on second place Ramon Piniero, albeit bit by bit. The lap times aren't suggesting that, but visually it's not looking that bad for Ryan Smith right now.
There's only a minute and a half left to go, so a couple more laps potentially. So there's not a lot of time for these guys to change around positions. I would say we're likely to have status quo at the front here until the end now. The top 4 are all spread. In fact, the top 5 are all pretty much equidistant from each other. So I'd say Grooten, Piniero, Smith probably for the podium here on in. It was a great fight from these guys.
Yes, it was. We really saw something from Mathias Grooten that illustrates why he's the revered champion that he is.
And another fastest lap from Grooten, the 34.2, some of the quickest times we've seen on this layout.
Absolutely, just over a minute to go, and Mathias Grooten is not letting up any on the pace. He set a new fastest lap, and well, there's no doubt who the winner's going to be, but Ramon Piniero has Ryan Smith trying to close him down. Now, I think, to be honest, the way it's going, if Ryan Smith hadn't been in the lead to begin with, we'd be saying third place is quite a result for him, but he'll probably be disappointed simply because he led early on. Yeah,
and we've seen this a couple of times actually, where a driver has qualified on pole. I mean, look at Stefan Verhofstadt yesterday. He was a good pole position in one of the final races yesterday and ended up 4th position, and that's one of our previous podium finishers in the grand final.
Absolutely, Verhofstadt was doing his best, but there was just so much action going on. He'll feel disappointed with that. Mathias Grooten, yet another fastest lap. This could well be it. This could well be the last lap. I think they're bringing out the checker. Mathias Grooten turning in at the end of the backstretch.
About to take the championship lead as well. The only man with 3 from 3.
Absolutely, 3 wins out of 3. What a performance by Mathias Grooten, the double world champion. He's fully intent on taking the British Championship. He has not won this championship. It must be one of the few championships he's never won.
He's certainly got his eyes set on it. And that there, everyone, is a lesson for anybody who is considering potentially swapping carts, doing a gamble, that kind of thing. It can be done. You don't have to stick, you can use the rule book to your advantage. Matthias was looking in a lot of detail through the rule book. He found that you can change cart before the race and still qualify. If you change cart after the qualifying session, then you have to start last. But He went for the cold cart, put it in a decent position where he was able to then strike once the tyres were warm, got them up to temperature, and started setting the fastest lap of the race and taking the victory.
Absolutely, Brad. And I think Mathias Grooten, even coming into the pits there to end the race, he actually did a practice stop. And it's quite something. That's the level of sort of professionalism, if you want, from Mathias Grooten. Yes, as you rightly said, it's a lesson to everybody here. If you want to win, that's the way to do it. To be honest, it's a lesson to anybody who's a rental kart racer anywhere in the country or the world. This is how to win at the top level. So if it's working for him at the top level, it's going to work for you at club level, isn't it?
Absolutely, I agree entirely. So there we go. Good,
so,
really good second race of the morning there.
Absolutely, what a way to start. We've had 2 good races so far. Mathias Grooten has made it 3 out of 3, top of the table on points, as Brad was saying. Ramon Piniero was second. That's exactly what he needed. Very racy all weekend, Ramon Piniero. Ryan Smith, now he may be disappointed because he was leading the early stages, the first laps, having started on pole, but third is great for him this weekend. So he'll be pleased with that one, I'm sure, when he stops and thinks about it. Tyler Mays 4th, Pete Lepan 5th, Ben Churchill 6th, David Longman 7th, Richard Jute, we didn't get to mention Richard Jute much at all, he only came in 8th. He's already won the race. It says how tough this game really is.
He was one of the drivers we were looking at as potentially being a surprise and an upset through the whole competition, and he's just not really got on with this particular layout. I think he's had time to have quite a bit of practice on the standard layout. Obviously all the drivers who are new to BRKC haven't had a chance on this layout. Drivers who were here last year drove a very similar layout to this, so I think that's maybe hampering Richard a little bit there. He's going to be a little bit frustrated, although his pace is certainly decent by the end.
Well, the next heat race that we see Richard Jute on will be back on the original course, so we may